Welcome back to Trove One, everybody. We are back working on the Suburban. Solid axle swap is done, except for anything that I run into that's a problem when we start driving it. But I've got two main things to do on the rear end. I've got to do shocks, and I've got to replace the rear differential, because if you remember, part of the reason that all this got started was we blew up the G80. That caused additional problems with an already failing front end, and that got us into solid axle swapping it, and now I got to put another differential in the rear end. So, but I'm actually going to try to, it's really tight in here, so I'm going to pull the Suburban out with front wheel drive, because we don't have rear wheel drive, put it in 4-wheel drive. Theoretically, we should be able to drive it with the front end unless something explodes on us immediately. But I'm going to start it up. Hadn't started up in 6 months. We're going to start it up, hopefully, and pull it out, clean the garage up a little bit, and then pull it in the other direction so I can work on the rear end a little bit easier. Let's see how this goes. I stole the battery out of this a while back, but recently friends over at Knobsite sent us this little jump pack, which if you remember early this year we were on a trip, or maybe into last, no, it was early this year, our battery died when we were out in the middle of the Ozarks, middle of nowhere, no cell service, and I jumped it off of a Milwaukee battery and a couple little pieces of wire. It was rather sketchy, and those pieces of wire got hot. Well, now with this, I won't need that anymore. So this is a jump pack, but it also has a built-in air compressor, so we could use it to air up a flat tire or something. I've been using this around the house, and it works really good. So I'm gonna see if I can start the vehicle without a battery in it and just run it off of this, because I'm not gonna be running it for long. Once it's started, it doesn't need anything. So we're just gonna clip this onto our cables here and see if the old Suburban will start. She has not started in a while. Let's see what happens. Okay, I don't know why it wouldn't drive out. I went ahead and put a battery on here to help it run better. Maybe it wasn't getting enough electricity to everything. And it's also possible that my transfer case isn't working, because I did cut the harness to the transfer case. I spliced it back together tonight, but that doesn't mean it's all working properly. I don't know. No telling how many problems we're gonna have. Doesn't sound super happy. It's running, but just hasn't run in a while. Computer probably has to relearn some stuff. Don't think it's going into gear. Okay, both drive shafts are spinning, so it is going into gear. It must be my center axle disconnect. Okay, I pulled off the center axle disconnect and manually engaged it. I think that's the problem. I think my cable is, probably just need to make some adjustments. Yep. Just need to make some adjustments to that cable so it's the right length to actually move that thing. I'm just not sure I'm actually gonna be able to make it work. I don't know if mine's broken or if I didn't install it right. I don't know. I'll look into that. For now, I'm going to pull this out, clean up a little bit, get turned around so we can work on the rear end. Well, it's not done yet, but it's sure nice to see it out of the garage for a minute. I gotta turn it around and pull it in so I can work on the rear end. Oh, I'm so ready to take this somewhere. So look at that thing. Whew. It's gonna be a mean machine. All right, let's get some shocks installed on the back. So on the back, I'm going with fanciest, most expensive shocks I've ever owned. These are the Bilstein 5160s with remote reservoir. So I needed to get slightly taller shocks anyway, and I stole the ones off this to go on the Tahoe over there. So I decided to upgrade to some of the best that I could find, at least listed for this vehicle. I'm sure there's some that are better that will fit it, but I thought I'd try these out. Been super happy with the Bilstein 5100s that I've had on there for a long time, and I thought we'll try these out. Funny thing is I got expensive ones going on the back, and I got the cheapest thing I could find on the front pretty much. But I'll upgrade those later. I just need to figure out what is gonna fit it properly. I just had to get something on it. So slap these in if they fit. All right, guys, I got them in. They're kind of hard to see, but there's one, and the other one, you can see this one a little bit better. It's right there. So they fit nicely, very fancy. Kind of had to get a little creative with the remote reservoirs to make them fit in there, but they fit. I didn't want to film it because I feel like putting on shocks at this point is really boring. And I'm also getting a little tired of filming because I'm kind of tired, period. I've been working on this every night this week from like 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. 4 or 5 days in a row, and I'm just tired. But I'm gonna call it a night. I'm gonna come out in the morning and we're gonna work on the differential. And I gotta figure out what's going on with the center axle disconnect, try to get that cable adjusted so that's functioning properly, and then come up with a few other loose ends to wrap up. I know I've got to redo my wiring to the roof rack because I cut that out when I was welding these in. So got several things to just kind of get back going, but the biggest thing is that differential in the rear end. So see you in the morning. Well, good morning. Time to go back to work on the Suburban. So I'm going to put another G80 locker in it. That's just the standard factory locker that we've had. Ours lasted 250,000 miles. And I've got another one sitting in this parts vehicle right here. So we're going to pull it out and slap it in there. This one's got about 200,000 miles on it as well, a little over. But the last one lasted a long time. This vehicle's seen a lot more just road time. So we're gonna, I gotta get under this thing. So when we grab the tow truck, pull this around somewhere, get it picked up where I can get underneath it and yank the G80 out of it. Tow truck's been sitting a few days. See if it's got any juice. I think it's dead. Nothing. All right, see if we can jump it. I didn't charge this up from last night, so we'll see if it's got enough juice in it. It may be kind of dead. I'm not sure. It takes quite a bit to jump this whole 454. See what she'll do. All right, we're gonna have to charge some stuff up before we can jump this. I think I killed the battery pack. It's not completely dead, but I killed it for the most part last night, and this battery is probably got like 4 volts in it right now. It takes a lot to turn over that big motor. All right, I got this thing hooked up with some jumper cables. No, we'll see if this, there's no room. I'm not going anywhere right now. We'll see if this works. Nope. It's not even turning over as much as the jump pack. She's dead. All right, we're gonna let this charge for a little bit. She's really dead. While we're waiting on that battery to charge, we're gonna work on getting the rear differential out of here. So pulled the wheel off. We gotta pull this out because we have to be able to slide these axles out to get the differential out. And it looks like we're gonna be doing brakes. Would you look at that thing? Look how thin that is. We are almost metal on metal. Rotor's still good. We just need some new pads. So we'll be doing new brakes on the back. We've already got new brakes on the front because we redid that. And then, yeah, it looks like we're doing that while we're in here. Look at that shock. Fancy. Caleb, over here on this wheel, on the axle right here where the studs are at, can you push that axle in? Push it in right there. Right, no, where the wheel studs are at. No, no, closer to you. Right where the wheel studs, where those nuts go on to hold the wheel on. Push that whole thing in. Yep, okay, stop. All right, there's one C-clip. Okay, go to the others. Well, okay, now pull that whole axle back towards you. That's good. All right, go to the other side. All right, push it in. Okay, C-clips out. All right, now pull it back towards you. That's good there. Hang on. Go ahead and pull it back some more. Okay, that's good. Laser, you gonna pull that one back some? Yeah. Get a little bit further. That's good. All right, now keep up with where these spacers are at in case those end up being kind of correct again. Those are on that side.
Daddy, why do you have to take it back?
This one's on this side. There's not much in there spacer-wise. All right, see if we got enough charge in the old tow truck now. There we go. It's alive.
Stop it, Daddy. Why?
Just pretend you didn't see that. I'm not ready to show that to you just yet. All right, let's hook up to this thing. Drag this out somewhere where we can get to it. Some people would wonder why I'd be keeping this piece of junk sitting around. And this is the exact reason why. I pulled a lot of good parts off this thing over the years. It's got a good G80 in here. It also has a good set of 410 gears. The axle's kind of rusty. This was a northern vehicle, so it's kind of not super great. It's pretty rusted out, so the frame and axle is probably no good. Motor I traded for some work. I pulled the transmission out of it, ran it in our white Suburban for a long time. Still got a good 410 front differential in it. A few other odds and ends, good radiator. So, you know, it's just got some good parts in it. Plus, I got a whole bunch of extra parts stored in it. So you never know when you might need a G80. And having one sitting around means this thing's free. So that's why I'm putting this in versus, I'd like to put an Eaton E-locker in, but this is free. An E-locker is expensive. So this is what we're gonna put in. I'm gonna take the Sawzall and cut a bunch of this stuff, the track bar, the sway bar links. It's so rusty because this was a northern vehicle, the bolts are hard to get out, so I'm just gonna cut a bunch of this stuff. Yank the wheels off so we can yank the axles out and see if we can't get this thing out of here. Well, it's come a nice rain shower, so now I'm soaking wet. Still haven't got that differential out. Everything unbolted, but it's not wanting to slide out for some reason. I'm gonna have to get a slide hammer or something on it, hook something around it and pop it out. I think it's just wedged in there, I think. All right, I got it out. Slide hammer did the trick. So here we got our good G80, all of its mechanisms in there. And over here we got our busted one that's all falling apart. So the plan here, hopefully I can make this work because otherwise I'm gonna have to get a shim kit because these only came with one shim in them. So they've got the perfect size shim for this in them from the factory. So what I'm gonna do, these are both 410 gears, but I'm gonna take the gear ring off of my old one and put it onto my new one because this gear ring I know fits with this pinion ring perfectly. So the main thing I need to worry about is my spacing on the left side, how far it is out. So I'm going to swap these. I'm going to pull the ring gear off. I'm going to see, hopefully these things to right here are exactly the same height. Hopefully. If they are, and they're also exactly the same width, if they're exactly the same, all you gotta do is swap ring gear and stick it in. We're about to find out. Well, got them off. Looking at them, I think those are the same. Feels the same. I think I can just put the ring gear on here. Hopefully my overall width is very, very close or identical, preferably. And we'll be able to just slap this thing in there. Now I've got sucked all the way up in there. I'm gonna put Loctite on these, and then I'll probably get my torque wrench out and torque them. The reason I'm gonna put Loctite on them is the last time I did a differential, I did everything to spec. It did not say to put Loctite on them. I torqued them to spec, and the bolts fell out later. And that's why I don't really trust torque specs. And I think they're a little bit overrated. So I'm gonna put a little bit of blue Loctite on them. Nothing much, but just something to help make sure these things don't come loose. All right, she's in. Feels pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and run a pattern. I'm not a gear expert, but I'm gonna go ahead and try to get a pattern and just make sure it doesn't look significantly off. Make sure it looks at least decent. And then I'll get the axles in, C-clips in, get all this buttoned back up. All right, we are all in. Bolted in, center pins in, the little bolt that locks that in place. It is in. Now, I gotta go get some parts. I can't finish this up at the moment. I got brakes, I got a diff cover. I got a gasket the other day, but I forgot that the diff cover, the original one, had got a hole in it. The only one I've got is this rusty one. I'm not putting that on, so I need a new diff cover and some rear brake pads. And then we can put the back end together, and the back end is done and back in business. So I think what I'm gonna do next is go back up to the front axle and try to figure out how to get my center axle disconnect cable linkage working properly so that I can disconnect and connect that. I think that's the main issue I have up there, that, and I need to try to get my steering wheel straight. So I think I need to disconnect. The pitman arm can rotate to any spot on there. It doesn't have the grooves like a typical pitman arm does on this. It's got all the notches, but there's like a 3 groove or a 4 groove, which is a wider notch, and it lines that pitman arm up in the exact spot. This one doesn't have that, so it just can rotate on there anywhere. So I need to try to, I want to get my steering wheel straight with the wheels pointed forward. We're pretty close. And then it'll go in for an alignment Monday, so we'll get it set up the rest of the way. Okay, here's how the center axle disconnect works. You got this fork right here. Cable's attached to it, so this should slide left and right. And then that goes in here, and that fork slides into this little groove right here. And then it should slide this. That's disconnected. You can see the cut right there, and then it should slide it over here. They're not lined up at the moment. Once you get those lined up, then that should slide. So it should slide it from right about there over to at least there, so that it's fully connected and disconnected. Which, when they're lined up, it is really smooth, so it shouldn't take much force on that cable. When they get in a bind, then it is. So you probably have to roll and kind of get it loose and get it to go. All right, I think I figured out what's going on. So this is the cable end. It's got this rod piece. And this will slide all the way up to here. This will slide back. It's got a good inch of travel. Should have an inch of travel. So then on this piece, it's got this kind of brass piece, and that slides up in here. On the Dodge, it would actually make contact on the end here, and that could trigger a light that probably would have been hooked up on the original stuff. Anyway, we don't need that on this, but that rod is gonna slide up into this area. So it feeds through this hole on this side, just like that, and then into that part over there. Right about there, once it starts sliding in that over there, you can see it's going in. Right about there, it starts binding up, which is right there. That should be, there'll be a clip in there, and that's where it should open up all the way to. But it's super hard. And once it gets past the end of it, so once you screw this in, I'll show you. So the cable just screws in on the other side. I can get it to go. So you're actually past the majority of the shaft right here. But I guess this hole over here and this hole over here are not lined up. So when it tries to slide back and forth, it's binding. So it's putting unnecessary pressure on it and not allowing it the full range of motion once it's installed in this housing. So this housing is just not manufactured precise enough. I think I can probably fix it though. I'm going to take it all apart, and I'm going to run a drill bit from this side in here, open up this hole just a little bit. I can't go too far or I'll mess up the threads and this won't thread in. But if I can open that up enough, it'll allow it to slide that inch or so that it needs without binding. So we're going to try that and see if we can get this thing fixed. You know, it's just not supposed to be that tight. And that's with it lubed up. I put some gear lube on it just to make sure it wasn't dry or anything, and it's still, you can see the metal's actually scraped and kind of pressed down in there on that hole because it's binding up right there. So take it apart, go get that opened up a little bit. All right, I think I fixed that problem. I can't really verify it at the moment, but the button is moving back and forth easily. It should not be hard or next to impossible to get it to move the full range of the motion. So I can't really check it right now. I'll test it later and make sure it's engaging. I got to get brake pads and a diff cover, maybe a couple other things, and then be ready to button up the rear end. So I think I'm going to work on some wiring next. I've showed you that before. I won't bore you with it, but I've got the cable that runs from up top. I got a junction box. Actually, I got 2 junction boxes because I got so many things going on. I've got these junction boxes right here, and then I've got this feed that runs all the way to the back, runs down through here, runs down underneath, and then follows the frame. I cut it right here because I had to do a bunch of welding, and I'd run it inside the frame. I'm gonna run it on the outside of the frame this time. So I need to splice it there and then tie it back into I'm actually gonna put another junction box here so that I can do some reverse lights and things like that down low and just hop in that junction box and hook them up. So I'm gonna put a junction box in there. I got another one for that, and then reconnected it up to the aux beam panel up front, and that'll give us all our stuff back for our lights and everything on the roof rack. All right, guys, it is time to do some official testing on the Suburban. So we got our makeshift RTI ramp set up here, and we're gonna see how well this thing actually flexes.
Blazer, move out of the way, bud.
That's its max right there.
Like I saw bouncing.
Yeah, I feel when the back wheel comes off. Just barely on the bump stop right there. That's all it's got without lifting a tire. It is very stuffed back here, very full, but it is not touching anything. I'll have to check the other side and make sure it's not rubbing either. And the front is good. It's got room for turning and everything. It's barely on the bump stop. Steering linkage is looking good. Track bar is looking good. The right here is looking good. We got clearance right there, not much. I think that's just about where we want it. I'm going to compare it with the 8.1 Suburban because they're the exact same wheelbase. A little different suspension. It's got leaf springs in the back, but kind of give a similar idea of what that originally would have been. Okay, this is the 8.1. Not as stuffed, but it's on smaller tires, obviously. This does have leaf springs in the back. The front is where the huge difference is. It's just not that much. So you can see how much further that Suburban is. I need to get a measurement and kind of look at it. Okay, so I measured these, and that one is at 21 inches off the ground. This one is at 29 inches. There's a little variation in the dirt. It's not a flat area, so it's not exact numbers, but about 8 inches more travel on this than that. I'm going to take the Tahoe and roll it up here too, because it would have the same rear suspension as this. It's just a shorter wheelbase, and kind of see what it looks like. The Tahoe is surprisingly worse than both of the others. This is at 17 inches up the trailer, and it started spinning and wheel coming off the ground. So this is 4 inches less than the 3/4 ton Suburban, and that's like 29, 17, 12 inches less than this Suburban. Now the longer wheelbase I think gives part of that advantage for sure, but that's crazy to look at. That's at 17 and this is at 29. That's a big difference. I'm imagining this would be closer to the 3/4 ton Suburban because there's a wheelbase advantage, but kind of crazy. So we know it definitely whips up on a stock GMT 800. Obviously, that was the plan the whole time. But how can it do against a classic solid axle leaf sprung tow truck? This truck has always outflexed everything else I've owned. So let's see if it still does. It is a close match. The old tow truck flexes pretty good. Now this tow truck, why are the sheep, silly sheep, they went in on this. They're so excited. The tow truck, this is stock suspension. It's running 33-inch tires, but this is otherwise a stock 1988 Chevy V30, big block 454 manual transmission. It's a beastly machine, but it is also stock. But the Suburban has just barely outflexed it. I'll measure them and see. It's probably like 2 inches. All right, just measured the tow truck. 27 inches versus 29 over here. Obviously the ground out here is not perfectly even, but rough measurements, 27 versus 29. So the Suburban is the new winner of the flex contest around here. And with some slight adjustments, I think there's a little bit more I could get out of the front. I'll probably leave it as it is, but if I trim that bump stop a 1/2 inch, I get a little bit more out of the front. So, pretty impressive. I'll take it. It's gonna be super nice when we're out there on the trails. I will say this is with the rear sway bar disconnected. I've got it hooked up on one side and hanging loose on the other side. So that might affect it a little bit, but still, it's pretty good. You guys, I no sooner got it together, I've already pulled it back apart. So I've got the axles out. I was going to do all new ball joints and U-joints on this axle before I put it in, but I just never got around to it. And then I was hoping we could do this trip we've got coming up and they'd be okay. But in testing, the driver's side started popping. I looked at it and there's chunks of metal falling out of the U-joint. Is just falling apart. So putting some new U-joints in the axles and we'll put this back together. We should be hopefully ready to go. All right guys, got it back together. Just flexing out good. Everything's sounding smooth. I'm gonna take it to get aligned and we'll see. We'll drive it around a little bit for the next few days, see if we have any issues, and then we're gonna take it on a big long trip. So thanks for watching. Thank you to Tahoverlanding for sponsoring the solid axle swap build. Helped us out big time. And now we're gonna go show how this thing can be used and what it can do. So we're excited, we're ready to go. So until next time, we'll see you on the next adventure.